You're listening to the Live Life Longer show with Dan Voss, inspiring you to live longer through the cold, the hot, breathing, eating, and being nature. In this week's episode, my guest is Dr. Jim Holland. Dr. Holland is a proud graduate of James Madison University and received his doctorate of chiropractic from Life University in Atlanta, Georgia. His chiropractic practice, Holland Family Chiropractic Center, is in Richmond, Virginia, where he resides with his wife, Nicole, and their son, Hunter. Dr. Holland is passionate about whole body health and transformation. He works with patients who suffer from hormone imbalances that create a host of issues for the patient. Together, Dr. Holland and his patients work on balancing those hormones and eliminating the issues associated with hormone imbalances. Dr. Holland has his own supplement brand, Hope Essentials, and an online program called Hope 30, helping people fix a broken metabolism. Dr. Jim, welcome to the Live Life Longer show.
Dan, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on today.
Yeah, I'm happy we connected. It's hard to remember where we connect in today's world. I think we either connected on Instagram or Clubhouse or maybe both.
I think it's probably started in a Clubhouse room, which went to an Instagram follow and a thank you, and then a good connection from there.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And then I think we both just learned a little bit more about each other and learned that a lot of the topics that we like to cover align pretty nicely. So
yeah.
That being said, I'm looking forward to having this conversation. I would like to start off maybe learning more about your health journey. I know that you've talked publicly about your health journey of weight loss over the years and the work that you've done over the years to improve your health. So maybe if you can share a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, it's really kind of funny when you're going to start with your health journey and you're going to go like, not just back a couple of years, but I'm going to go way, way back. I'm going to actually go back to when I was born. I was actually born with severe bilateral club feet. And so I grew up and it was surgeries and braces and casts. And I went to kindergarten in a wheelchair with casts all the way up to my hips. I had to learn to re-walk again. So this was the beginning kind of stages of my life. So from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, when someone asked me like, Jimmy, what are you going to be when you grow up? I was like, I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon, like the doctor who did all the surgeries on my feet. Now, it probably didn't hurt that he drove a Jaguar and had a condo at Snowshoe, because even at 5, I knew that was cool. But I just really wanted to help people like he helped me. And it was really exciting. And so from 5 years old all the way through, junior high, high school, this is what I was going to do. I went to college. I was pre-med. And all the way through college, literally, I was staying between my junior and senior year of summer school to get in some more classes. And I bumped into a guy. He was like, we were in the same apartment complex. He was leaving. I was coming. I'd never met him before. And we just started chit-chatting for a second. And I was like, he was graduating the next day. And and I said, oh, well, what are you going to do? He goes, well, I'm going to go to chiropractic school. I'm like, well, chiropractic school? What's that? I don't even know what that is. And we proceeded to have about a 1.5 hour conversation all about what it was, what he was going to do, where he was going. And I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. So now this was pre-internet days. Mm-hmm. So the next day while I was on campus, I went to the career center on campus and I started pulling books about chiropractic, and it sounded really cool. And I applied, I got in, and I went. Wow. Literally, I got into chiropractic as a profession 100% by divine intervention. I had never met that guy before. I've never seen him since. But that 1 hour interaction that we had completely changed the trajectory of my whole life. And so it's really, there's a quote by B.J. Palmer, who's sort of the developer of chiropractic. And he always said that you never know how far-reaching something you may say, think, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. Wow. And every time I hear that quote, I think of that moment that I bumped into this guy, and he has no idea the impact. I don't even know if he ever practiced chiropractic someday. But because of him, 22 years later, I mean, I've probably delivered 250,000 chiropractic adjustments,
Wow.
to thousands and thousands of people. So it was really cool. But, so the club feet as a child really got me on this is the direction I want to go. And then there was a God moment. There was a divine intervention kind of event that happened that completely sent me in a different direction. And I couldn't be happier. I am 100% kind of in my lane, where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be, kind of feel called to be here. And so that's really kind of how I got into chiropractic. And through that time, I've really spent a lot of time I came from a school, and some of my mentors in school were some of the top people in my profession. So I just set that in my brain that that's now what I had to go do. And so I just served and loved people. And my wife and I really worked hard, from the sun up till, 2 a.m. for about, 7-8 years, just grinding. And I started to the point where I was seeing, 70, 80, 90, 100 people a day.
Yeah.
And really burning the candles at both ends. And when you do that, there's a lot of stress. You eat a lot of garbage food. And I would say that, I probably suffered from poor genetic syndrome anyway, because if we look back at my family, they all get heart disease and diabetes and these kind of things. Well, I was on that track. I had gotten significantly more overweight, probably about 50 pounds more than I am right now. I ran my own blood work. And so I call myself an undiagnosed type 2 diabetic. And only undiagnosed because I didn't let anyone else diagnose it. I did it. And my A1C said, "Hey, you're a diabetic." And that really kind of put me at this place where I knew that, yes, chiropractic and energy flow through the body is of utmost importance. But then there's this other aspect that if you don't take care of that, I believe that all humans are ultimately energy and substance. And, chiropractically, we make sure that energy is getting out where it needs to go so that all parts of the body function the way it's supposed to. But once that energy gets there, you've got to have the substance to make it happen. And I had really gotten so out of balance, and my, insulin resistance, and I was just kind of in a bad health place at that point, and I kind of needed to make a change. And that's really where my excitement into functional medicine, nutrition, supplements, that's really where that came from. It originally started very selfishly, as in, I've got to help me, because if I'm going to live out my mission in taking care of people, I'm no good to anybody. This is the vehicle to serve. And my vehicle had rust and bald tires and was out of alignment. It was in bad shape. So I really had to get that under control.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest things that you learned, and like in terms of your lifestyle? What were the biggest changes that you saw when you decided to make that switch in your health, start eating better and getting better sleep? Like, what were some of the main areas of your life that improved from those health changes?
So what's really cool is there is not a single aspect really of your life that's not touched by that. When those things start to come into alignment, your energy changes, your mental state changes, you're less grumpy, you have all kinds of things. Because literally I was having daily chronic heartburn. My joints ached all the time. And so I went through this process of when I started cutting out sugar and things that easily turned into sugar, because obviously I had a blood sugar problem, and my insulin levels came down. It changed my entire life. I all of a sudden, it's a funny story. My wife will kill me when she hears this, but the very first time, like within about, I would say 2 weeks of really making that drastic change and just getting rid of all these inflammatory foods, like I cut out gluten. Cutting out gluten changed my life. One of the best things I ever did in my whole life. But then cutting out sugar, things that easily convert into sugar. Just cutting out gluten in the first 10 days, I probably lost 10 pounds. It was
Wow.
just 10 pounds of inflammatory fluid that just dumped off of it was amazing. And it wasn't the weight loss. It was just it was the inflammation. Like I looked like I'd been stung by a bee. And then all of a sudden you cut out that gluten and all that inflammation flushes out. I thought my rings were tight on my hands because I was a chiropractor and I was seeing so many people. And that's what happens. Your hands are swollen at nighttime. No, that's not true. That was an excuse. That was just a story I told myself as to why it was happening. When I cut out gluten, all that changed. And about 2 weeks into this process, I'm laying in bed and I'm asleep. And then all of a sudden, I just feel something really close to my face and it startles me. And I wake up and my wife is like literally right here next to my face because she doesn't think I'm breathing. Because normally when I used to be laying there, I'd be snoring. She'd hear me gurgling from reflux. And now she can't hear me. So she's like, oh my God, he's dead. Something horrible has happened. And what it was is I was just, like I no longer was breathing that way. Everything was going much better. So it was really it really changed my life.
Yeah, that's so incredible. It's remarkable when you start piecing all of that together, those small changes. You can make one change and you realize it affects another area of your life. And then you improve that area of your life and it just kind of snowballs into this bigger, greater thing to the point where you don't even have to think about some of these changes that you've made.
Well, that was that's really, because originally I just went lower carbohydrate and that made a huge change. But I kept noticing that periodically I would still have like sometimes this racing heart, sometimes my joints would still swell. And I couldn't figure it out. And then that's when I found out, like, I had croutons on my salad. And then that's when I found out that I actually did have, that I had a sensitivity to gluten. And that when I cut that out, it went like a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
You mentioned your supplement brand. I'd like to talk more about Hope Essentials and the different supplements that you're providing and some of the solutions that you're providing for your clients and your customers. So maybe touch a little bit more on Hope Essentials.
Yeah. So Hope Essentials is my supplement brand. I'll tell you how it really, kind of the genesis of how it started was, it originally started from this fact that once again, everything that I do in my office, in my practice to serve people is ultimately things that at some point was a problem for me or my wife together. And these are things that we had to work to overcome. So I really think that everything that I do in my office is about overcoming something that I've dealt with. And so because I had club feet as a child, as I grew up, all of those surgeries, all of those problems, you end up as an adult with a lot of bone on bone ankles and feet and limping and inflammation and pain. And so that led me towards sort of kind of getting into the world of hemp derived CBD. And I was, I started doing a lot of education on CBD on the internet, and people were watching and reaching out. And as I was doing, because I got amazingly great results in working with it for inflammation and things like that. And a lot of my patients were, so all these people started reaching out to me and asking like, well, I have these issues. Can you help me get better results? And what I found out was I was continually recommending like, okay, yes, take that, do that. And then have you thought about adding in these vitamins, these minerals, these other things to support the effects that CBD has? And I kept recommending it and people getting results. And then that's when I sort of had this aha moment that CBD is ultimately designed to help bring balance to the body. It helps bring homeostasis through the endocannabinoid system.
Yep.
And what I realized is the body CBD can't balance what the body doesn't have. And so a lot of people are taking CBD to maybe they're trying to balance their neurotransmitters. But if your body's having problems making GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that calms things down, CBD helps increase the affinity, the receptors for the affinity of GABA. But if you just have low GABA, wouldn't you do better if your body could make GABA? So how about we give people those raw materials like glutamine and B6, peroxidol 5-phosphate. So put those two things together, your body makes GABA from that. And so that's when I went on this idea that, like, you know what? What if somebody created a supplement that had everything in it so that that if somebody was taking CBD, you could ultimately maximize, you could get the most out of it. It would basically give your body everything it needs so that CBD can do everything you hope. And that's really the genesis of where my supplement, My CBD Companion, came from. Now, it doesn't have CBD in it. It's really just designed to be paired with your favorite CBD product. But it's really an ultimate vitamin, mineral, amino acid, omega, antioxidant blend. It's got all of these things in this package to be able to help give your body everything it needs, so that when you take CBD, you can kind of maximize your results. And that was the genesis idea. But once I created that, I realized, like, this is like maybe one of the, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best. There's great product out there, but this is one of the best multivitamin mineral supplements I've seen. And I'm a professional, so I have access to professional supplements. Sure. And what I decided is most people don't, unless they go see a functional medicine doctor or something like that. They don't have it. They're going to CVS or somewhere like that to get their supplements. I just went there. It's not good stuff.
Right.
So what my goal was then was let's bring this kind of professional quality supplement and let's take it direct to the consumer. And that's really what we did. So for people that don't do CBD and don't want to be, have anything with CBD on the title, sure, we sort of also created something called Perfect Health, which is basically the same thing. It's just for people that typically are looking more for the nutrient side of things, because I really think that nutrient deficiencies is a much bigger problem than I think people, really get. Because what I hear a lot is like, Doc, that's great. I want to get all my vitamins and minerals from my food. Sure. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Right. That sounds great. I would love to do that. I don't think you can do it now. Yeah. The food supply is so depleted. You have to eat like 10 times the amount of spinach today as you needed to 50 years ago to get the same nutrients. So I mean, they're called supplements for a reason. They're supposed to supplement the good things that you're doing in your life. But right. I decided, like, if I could create something simple so that, I feel like people had 10, 20 different supplements on their counter, especially with things going on in the world right now. People are like, oh, I got to take this and I got to take this and I got to take this. What if we could just kind of make it simple and, like, here, if you take Perfect Health, if you take My CBD Companion, like, you're going to have everything your body needs all in one. And then certainly, so that's been sort of the genesis of it. Long term, the next things that are going to come out are all going to be, because I do in my office a tremendous amount of chiropractic pregnancy work. I may see more pregnant chiropractic patients than anybody in my state. I don't know, probably close to the top. But so once again, all things that come from overcoming. My wife and I struggled with a tremendous amount of fertility issues in getting pregnant. So I really have a heart for people struggling in fertility, pregnant, post-pregnancy. So sure, we're going to have an entire sort of line that's coming out soon that is sort of the fertility, the prenatal, postnatal for Hope Essentials. That's really where the hope part comes from. I think a lot of people lose hope. And so when we were really designing the brand and the concept, it was really about, like, if you're overweight and you've got diabetes, a lot of people have told you, well, that's your genes, you're stuck there, that's what's going to happen. And I don't want people to lose hope. Sure. If you're struggling to try to have a baby, if you're pregnant, you want to make sure your baby's as healthy as possible, maybe avoid some of the common things we're seeing now. like we want to provide hope. And so our brand is really all about hope. And that's why we did Hope Essentials. And that's kind of where it comes from.
Yeah, I love that. It's so great. It sounds like you're doing really good work with those products. The My Companion product, you mentioned that it's supplements taking CBD. Tell us a little bit more about how we can get the best results with CBD as it relates to supplementing with your product.
Sure. So there's a couple important things when people are working to get the sort of the best results that they can get when they're taking their CBD. And number one, and it sounds really simple, but I can't stress it enough, is that you need to start with a really high quality product. Unfortunately, CBD got really popular really fast. And what that means is there's often a lot of junk on the market. And when they started, they've done a bunch of those shows where they take a bunch of products and they go test them, and you find out that like 75% of the things they tested didn't actually have what it said it had in it. So it's really important that you get a highly reputable brand that is third-party tested. And when it's third-party tested, it's not just for what's in it, but it's for what's in it, but it's also for what's not in it. That if you're thinking that you're getting something that has, low to no THC, that it actually has low to no THC, that it's, not going to be high, and you're going to be like, wait, what just happened? That's not what I was expecting. Or that it's been microbial tested, or, make sure that it's really clean. So I know that sounds like super basic, but I'm going to tell you that I don't know how many people have sent me screenshots like, well, I'm taking this. I'm like, I don't know anything about that one.
Right.
You may just want to try this one, and they move over to one that is a reputable brand that you've heard of, or that or that I've recommended to them, and instantly they start to see something more positive because they know it's good quality. So number one, you got to get a good quality one. The second part of that is you got to make sure that you're taking the right amount. And a unique part to that is I think a lot of people think about things like CBD, they think about them very much like you would when people are dosing certain medications. And it's like, oh, it's all based on height and weight or condition. So like, oh, if I'm in really, really bad pain, I must need a whole lot of CBD. If I'm 6'4" and 280, I must need a whole lot of CBD. And the truth is the right amount of CBD for you is the right amount of CBD for you. It is a very individualized thing. Sometimes people that are the most imbalanced need the least amount because they're so imbalanced. A slight improvement is a dramatic change.
Right.
And so it's one of the reasons why I typically do like the tinctures or the drops that go underneath your tongue to start, because it's the easiest way to find out exactly how much you should be taking. So I have kind of this, you start low and increase slowly, slow and low, that is the tempo. Taking me back to the 80s there. But basically what you do is, I tell people start off just like, if you're taking a 500 or a 750 milligram, you just kind of start off with 3 to 5 drops underneath your tongue morning and night. And then every couple days increase that until you notice something positive. And whatever that is, that's about your right dose. And then if you noticed for 3 months, seemed to be working great, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, one of the people think they must need to go up. Actually, it's oftentimes the opposite. Because unlike almost every other medication on the planet where you develop a tolerance to it, since CBD, the sort of hypothesis is that you're helping with an endocannabinoid deficiency.
Right.
Well, if you've been taking it for 3 months, I would imagine that you would have less of a deficiency now, right? So oftentimes you need to take less to still get to feel the benefit. So what I usually tell people, if it's been working for 3 or 4 months and then all of a sudden it seems to not be working, people always think like, oh, my brand must have changed what they're doing. No, you've changed. And so what I typically tell people to do is just hit the reset button, go back to the beginning, start at 3 to 5 drops in the morning and at night, and slowly increase until you hit your new amount, and then hang out there. Yeah. And so So number one, it's really getting a good quality oil, which certainly if people reach out to me, I can let them know of brands that I think are great. Number two is the idea of finding the right amount for you. And it is very different. And it's not based on your height or your size. And it's not based on condition either. Because I know that a lot. Now, granted, if you do have really severe chronic pain, yes, you might find that you're like, wait, I started at 3 to 5 drops. I'm now at 25 drops. Am I taking too much? No, just keep going.
Yep.
But yes, so you got to find the right amount. And then third, for me, it really is making sure that the body has everything else it needs. It's kind of like what we were talking about. If, a person's, now I'm also just here to tell everybody that CBD is a natural substance. It's not a drug. Therefore, it's not intended for the diagnosis, treatment, or cure of any specific disease or condition, including anything we might talk about on here. But a lot of people take CBD because, let's say, they have anxiety or problems sleeping.
Yep.
And one of the natural things that people look at who have problems with anxiety or CBD is what we were talking about earlier, is like low GABA. All right. Because GABA is a neurotransmitter that calms everything down. And if it's low, you tend to be hyper excited, and it sometimes can cause anxiety, pain, sleeplessness, restless legs. These are all sort of things that have been in that field, even some fibromyalgia type symptoms. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is CBD, the way it works is it works through the endocannabinoid system to help kind of improve in your neuroreceptor sites in your brain. It improves the affinity or how much it's likely to attach to the GABA in your brain. So if you have low GABA, you're going to attach more of it to the receptor. You will have a higher GABA response. So people often see a benefit in their anxiety and their sleep. But once again, eventually you got to imagine like that's going to probably, GABA, if it's going down, it's just going to keep getting less. And that may not continue to work forever. We should probably support the body's production of GABA. So like in my CBD companion, we have the amino acid glutamine, and we have the preferred form of B6 peroxidyl 5-phosphate, because those are the two things that go together to help your body make GABA. It does the same things like with serotonin. There's, tryptophan and B6, and we really work to make sure that the body has all of those parts. So, vitamin D is really, really important to that process as well. So we have plenty of vitamin D in there. Nice. One of the reasons why people take CBD is for its antioxidant properties. And so we included a blend in there. And CBD really, by working through the endocannabinoid system, there's two cannabinoids that your body makes. That's why they're called endocannabinoids, because your body makes it. But they're cannabis-like substances that your body actually makes. And one of them is called Anandamide. That is the joy bliss chemical. And really that's how CBD, one of the ways CBD works is when it gets into your system, it blocks the FAAH enzyme that breaks down anandamide. So anandamide stays in your system longer. Remember, it's the joy bliss chemical. So it's kind of like, that feels really nice. I like that. Don't we all need more joy bliss in our life, right? And so, but here's the thing, what makes anandamide? It is made from some omega-3s and omega-6s. And if you are deficient, which a lot of people are deficient in these essential fatty acids, then you're going to have problems making even those endocannabinoids that are supposed to bring on those feelings. So that's why we included a really good blend of omega-3s, 6s, and 9s in my CBD companion. So it's really kind of an advanced endocannabinoid support supplement to go along with your CBD. So if you get the right oil or CBD product, you get the right amount, and then you have all sort of the nutritional aspects, all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients to support the endocannabinoid system, you should have really good results.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. Hey guys, I want to take a quick second to tell you about Kion, which provides natural supplements and clean coffee for vibrant health. Kion coffee is in the top 3% of all coffee grown worldwide that can claim to be specialty grade, which means it's free from yeast, pesticides, mold, and mycotoxins. It's also one of the best cups of coffee I've ever had. Kion also has a really great aminos product that aids in better sleep, post-exercise recovery, provides fast, clean energy, supports fasting, and improves cognitive performance. Experience the energy and performance benefits of Kion Aminos today. To get 15% off your order of Kion coffee or any of their products and supplements, visit getkion.com/danvoss and enter code DANVOSS, that's DANVOSS, at checkout for 15% off your order. I'm happy you brought up, there's just a few things you brought up there that I'm happy you brought up. In terms of stigma, I think a lot of people are just maybe not understanding what CBD really is. They might get it confused with THC and think, oh, CBD, that's going to get me high. And I also don't think they necessarily look at it in a medicinal way, that it can be used as medicine. So you started talking about some of the benefits that CBD can have. Like for me, when I use CBD, I can tell my anxiety lowers. I also like to use it before bedtime to improve my sleep or to help me fall asleep faster. What other benefits, some of the main benefits, are you seeing with CBD?
So that's a great question. Number one, when we talk about stigma, there is nobody more concerned about that stigma than my wife and I were. When I started looking into it, she's like, what are you doing? Because as a joke, we always talk about, we grew up in the 80s. Like we were kids of the Nancy Reagan just say no era. And we did. We were like, no, we didn't, so we were never even recreational users of anything like that. So when I started getting into CBD, it was very important to me that I was like, wait, what am I really getting into? And so you find out that, CBD, and for what most of us are using it, if you're not getting it from like a dispensary, it's typically coming from hemp versus the marijuana plant. So by law, it's under 0.3% THC, which is next to nothing, that amount I gave to my 10-year-old and never even questioned it. Like, it's so low, it's not a problem. But so where do I see a lot of the benefits? You hit on them, certainly, as kind of the mood, lowering anxiety, and sleep are really big reasons why people take it. Inflammation is maybe one of the greatest ones. It's actually what got me into it, as again, we get into club feet, bone on bone, inflammation. I was limping around a lot. I had tried to start exercising, but it was killing me. And so that's why I got into CBD again for myself, and it completely changed my life. Right before this interview, I just did a 5-mile trail run on a really gimpy leg, but I feel great and I don't have any pain or inflammation from it, which is really cool. So it's really big anti-inflammatory because of the balancing effect it has in the immune system. So I find it really great for people that have autoimmune conditions, because most autoimmune conditions are a really big imbalance of the immune system. And so it helps bring balance to that. The way to think about it is I actually think of CBD very much the way I think about chiropractic. Back in the day, people would always go, wait, I don't understand. Why do chiropractors think they can heal everything? And it's not that I say that chiropractors heal anything. Your body does all the healing. But the reason why chiropractic may have an impact, like why could it impact people with ear infections or sinus problems or heartburn or different things like that? Well, it's because your nervous system, which is what we're interacting with, touches everything. It controls and coordinates everything. So when you get into CBD and you understand that it's interacting with this system nobody knew about, called the endocannabinoid system, which helps all of your systems talk to each other. And it helps create balance across all these systems. So it helps your nervous system talk to your endocrine system talk to your digestive system, and they're all interplaying and interacting in your immune system. You have cannabinoid receptors on your immune system. Yep. So when all of those things are talking to each other and you help create homeostasis, it can really affected in a lot of places. My son he had like an eczema spot on his arm for about 5 or 6 years. And when we first started doing this, I said, come here. I just put some drops on it, rubbed it in. And in like a week, it like disappeared.
Wow.
I was like, that's pretty cool. And you just start realizing that that's an immune system imbalance.
Yeah.
And when the immune system comes into balance, when you reduce inflammation, it gets better. So, so I'm a big inflammation's a really big one. Pain, immune system stuff, sleep, anxiety. I'm trying to think of some of the big ones. Actually, because of the impact that it has with inflammation and things like that, like we see it can be really beneficial in weight loss, and in blood sugar diabetes issues, because there's a lot of inflammation, especially when you have high insulin levels. Insulin's very inflammatory. So helping sort of counteract some of that can also be really beneficial in those categories as well. Yeah,
it's super important. I think that's what's so fascinating about CBD is that it can be used for so many different ailments. And for so many different people, they all have different goals or different things that they're trying to resolve. And for me, like I said, CBD has been a really great thing for the anxiety and for sleep. But I know for other people, it's great for immunity and for autoimmune disease and joint pain and the number of other things that you mentioned. While we're talking about immunity, I know you talked about vitamin D. What other supplements, and actually vitamin D isn't, a supplement per se, but it's called, not a supplement. It's not necessarily a vitamin, which is what everyone says. It's a vitamin. What other supplements for immunity are you a fan of?
So vitamin D, and you're right, it's not a vitamin. Technically, it's a hormone because your body can produce it, right. And it produces it from, interaction with the sun. We all kind of know that. So vitamin D is number one because, there's two sides to your immune system, and vitamin D sort of sits up here like the general and helps modulate the entire event. So number one, I'm a big fan of that. I'm not necessarily, when we talk about immunity, and things that support your immunity, I'm not always necessarily a huge fan of a lot of the things that you hear like, take this because it supercharges your immune system. Because what I really think, what we're all looking from our immune system is really sort of the Goldilocks immune response. We don't want it to be too much, but we also don't want it to be too low. And we want that just right sort of reaction. And so, obviously we can go really old standards like vitamin C. You can't beat it. It's one of the most important for that. It's all the ones you've heard recently. Certainly zinc is really important in that as well. There's a tremendous amount of sort of antioxidants and fruit and vegetables blends that are also really good. Quercetin, I like elderberry, there's a whole bunch in that whole family of, things. That's actually in my supplement brand, we use a patented blend of about 29 fruits and vegetables and herbal extracts as sort of an antioxidant immune system support for just that reason, because obviously we're all really interested in how our immune systems are working right now. One of the things that I'm always concerned about when people are taking supplements for their immune system, though, is we hear one thing is good, and so we go out and we buy that one thing. Yeah. And then we hear this other thing's good, and we go out and buy that one thing. So you have people taking really high doses of zinc, and they're doing it for a really, since this thing started. Right. And so you have people have been taking high doses of zinc for a year. Well, the problem is that zinc blocks copper. So you need copper to kind of balance that out a little bit. Zinc can block magnesium absorption, so you can end up low magnesium. And magnesium works in over 300 different metabolic processes in your body. So I'm much more a fan of getting sort of a synergistic mix of all of them working together than just I'm going to hit this and I'm going to go super heavy for a really long time. Yeah. Because I do, there's a few things you can do that with, even vitamin D, it works better when you've got, vitamin K, K2, some of the, those things as well at the same time. So I like them all together, but definitely there's a tremendous amount of sort of fruit and vegetable extract that are super high antioxidants, really, decrease free radicals, oxidative damage, and I think a really, really good support for your immune system, along with the vitamin C's, the D's, the zincs, those kind of things.
Yeah, it's super important. I think that's a great point, is that, we hear somebody say, go out and get this, and then you get it, and then also go out and get this. And the next thing you know, you're taking 10 different things at high dosage, and you don't even know what or why you're taking them. So it's certainly important to do the research and know what you're taking and why, and the specific reason that you should be taking a certain supplement. And back to what you said earlier, is supplements are meant to supplement what we're already doing that's good in our life, whether that's nutrition or other lifestyle choices. So definitely something to keep in mind. I also want to talk a little bit about the idea of chronic disease that we're seeing, especially in this country. What would you say are some of the main causes that you see for why we have so much chronic disease among our population?
Sure. So one of the things that I think we've seen, there's a significant increase in chronic disease around the world, really, but especially it's crazy in first world countries. Like in places where we have the most technology, we're seeing the biggest increase in chronic disease. And you start to think like, well, that seems weird. And then I know a lot of people that are into genetics, and there's a lot of genetic testing going on, trying to figure out like, why are all these things happening? We know it's not a genetic problem because it's seen a significant increase in literally a single generation. You typically see genetic problems increase more and more over time. This has been like in a generation. And so I did not come up with this concept. There's an amazing Dr. Tsoukalos. He's a Greek-Italian doctor that is one of the foremost experts in the world of metabolomics, who I'm a big fan of. But he wrote in a book that he did that, which is great because he wrote it, and I'm like, he wrote it so perfectly. It's what I've been really believing and thinking and working on in my office for a long time. Is there's really only two reasons that ultimately chronic disease develops or you get sick. And that is number one, by act or omission, you're causing damage faster than your body can heal itself. And see, that's all based on that exact premise that from a chiropractic background is that I believe that built right into every single person, your body has a ridiculous and amazing ability to heal itself built right in.
Yep.
And so and that's really important, because I think if you listen to the media enough, you will forget that built right into your body has a ridiculous and amazing ability to heal itself built into it, because we're afraid of everything. I want to give everybody hope that, listen, your body is incredibly well made with this incredible immune system and all these abilities to repair and heal itself. So the number one reason we get sick is by act or omission, we're damaging the body faster than we can repair it. So if you're smoking a lot, you're drinking a lot, you stay up too late every night, you're constantly eating high sugar, high gluten, eventually you're putting toxins into your body faster than your body can get rid of them. You are going to accumulate damage. And so that's number one. Number two is, because once again, we said your body has a ridiculous and amazing ability to heal itself. The number one reason we have chronic disease or damage is we're causing damage faster than we can repair it. Number two is we lack the vital substances that our body needs to actually carry out those repair processes. And as we look at, goes back to something we talked about earlier, which is if you look at the food supply today compared to 50 years ago, fruits and vegetables have 30 to 50% less vitamins and minerals than it did even 20, 30 years ago. Yep. Spinach, you'd have to eat 10 times the amount today as you would have 50 years ago. Wow. And what it does is people don't always think about nutrient deficiencies, because they're thinking about like, well, I don't have scurvy. Who's the last person you met with scurvy or pellagra, or rickets? Like we don't see that anymore. But one of the unique things is, and again, I didn't come up with this concept either, but your body works on something called the triage effect, which is you have processes that go on in your body that must be maintained to maintain life. Like creating energy at the cell, right? That requires certain B vitamins to make sure that you can create energy. If you can no longer make ATP in the cell, you cease to exist. All right. So your body, if you are low in B vitamins, your body is going to shunt all of those B vitamins to try to keep that energy production of the cell, because if you don't have it, you're over.
Yep.
But here's the thing. You know what cleans up your DNA and makes sure that, when you get breaks in it and you get damage to it, what sends up the signal like, hey, let's get over here and repair it? Those are B vitamins as well. Methylated B vitamins help repair your DNA. But by triage effect, if you don't have enough of them, they're going to shunt over here, and you're going to develop DNA damage. And you're not going to have enough B vitamins to fix that. So you don't notice that immediately.
Yeah.
But what it shows up is accelerated aging. And we're on the Live Longer podcast. I mean,
right.
This is directly like not just how to live longer, but how to live abundantly healthy. Is we need the amount of nutrients that your body needs to not just take care of what it takes to be alive and survive, but what does it take to do all these healthy repair processes that keep your body, in peak condition for as long as possible. Yes. And so I've done a lot of metabolomic or organic acid tests and really test people's nutrient deficiencies. And it's quite eye-opening. You realize that I've not tested a single person that we were like, oh, good. You got everything your body needs. And so I really think that if you can really focus on eliminating a lot of the things that cause damage to your body, and you get good sleep, because if you're skipped by act or omission, if you're omitting good sleep, that's a repair process. So number one, you can get rid of the things that are causing damage faster than your body can repair itself. Do things that positively help your body repair itself. Make sure you're getting all the nerve energy to all the parts of your body so your body can repair itself. And then number two, you make sure that you're getting all the nutrients your body needs so that it can repair itself.
Yeah.
And if you do those two things, there was a really awesome study they did with a nutrient bar they created. And literally all they did is they had people with diabetes and high blood pressure and high triglycerides and all these, and high cholesterol, all those things, eat this bar. Now, it just had all these vitamins and nutrients in it. Well, they found out after 90 days of just having one bar a day, that their triglycerides went down, their cholesterol went down, their blood sugar went down, their insulin sensitivity improved. Wow. They didn't change anything else about their lives. And it was just that they've got nutrients in their body that help these processes happen. Correcting insulin resistance and doing some of those kind of things. So that's part of where Hope Essentials, my supplement brand, came from, was a desire to I really think this is important, and I want to simplify the whole process,
right,
and not have people, with 15 things on their counter because they heard something really cool. Because I was that guy. Every time a commercial came on, I'd be like, oh, I need that. That sounds awesome. And then eventually I realized I got out of hand. I'm like, what? My perfect health supplement became the question, if you could only take one thing, what would it be? That's what I created. Yeah. Was to do that and to help really with those main nutrient deficiencies.
And I think that's the big piece there, is simplifying things, because what I'm hearing is there's so much that's going on behind the curtains, if you will, in our body, and a lot of people are not aware of what they're doing, whether it's through their nutrition or lack of sleep, or other lifestyle choices. And if we can just kind of pull open that curtain a little bit and show everyone what's going on, but then also do it in a way that's simplified, I think that's where the real answer lies. So Very
Absolutely.
cool. I would also like, before we wrap things up, I want to touch a little bit more on your online program, Hope 30, and maybe talk a little bit about, because from my understanding, it's helping people fix a broken metabolism. So maybe you can share a little bit more about Hope 30.
Sure. Well, I will tell you that Hope 30 I've been offering metabolic programs and weight loss in my office for 6 or 7 years. It's really how I turned around my own issues. 6, 7 years ago, I followed the same process and I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Wow. And I've kept it off for 6 or 7 years. And then all the quarantine stuff hit. And I think we all sort of got a little suspect in our eating choices, me included. And I started to see a little creep up. And then all of a sudden, along with that came all the other things. I wasn't sleeping great. My joints hurt again. And I just told my wife one day, I was like, I need a reset. I'm going to go back and I'm going to we generally follow that, but let's do it really again. And I said, you know what? I bet there's a bunch of people out there that feel exactly like we do. Why don't we just open this up to the whole internet? Let's invite everybody in and let's kind of reimagine this for these times. How can we offer this? And because people just weren't coming into my office. So it's how can we reimagine this? So that's really where in July, that was the thought. And we put it out there and said, we're going to do a 30-day, we called it a weight loss challenge at the time, a 30-day weight loss challenge. And, what we do is we use an advanced metabolic questionnaire test. It's sort of like a questionnaire version of getting a organic acid test or a metabolomic test. And we use that to sort of figure out what major metabolic pathways are not working, whether it be inflammation, oxidation, blood sugar, gut health, cortisol and stress. And we can identify sort of the overarching major metabolic pathways that aren't working well. So we know exactly what supplements the body needs. Again, fixing the nutrient deficiencies that drive that pathway. And when we pair that with our eating style through this 30 days, we shift from being, sort of inflammatory sugar burners into these really awesome fat burners. People start to burn their own body fat for fuel, really reduce their inflammation. And while they're doing that, we kind of help shift into this area of autophagy. So we really increasing autophagy during this time. So there's a lot of repair going on. And, but the thing what really makes it dramatically different than anything else that's out there is we do nightly Zooms, 30 Zooms in a row, 30 nights in a row. So It's actually funny that we're doing this tonight. I am this is the third Zoom of this 30-day process that I will be doing right after this.
So
and
cool.
We do them. So what's really cool is there's 30, 40 people on the screen. They're part of this big group, and it develops this incredible community. Because if this time has taught us anything, it's how much we crave human interaction. And even if it has to be on video, just being able to be connected with everybody doing it. So we really assess, we make it personalized through the testing, but then the coaching and the community are all working together at the same time. So they all start on the same day. And I do 30 nights of Zoom. So I coach and teach every night for 30 days. They can all get questions. And so we just had a group that just finished, and it was about 25 people in the group. And in the 30 days, I would say the average weight loss total was 17.8 pounds out of the 25 person group. So it was really exciting. And then usually what we do is I tell people, the goal isn't to just do something for 30 days. The reason why we work on fixing the broken metabolism is that we want to not only be able to lose it, but we want to keep it off long term. And the key to keeping weight off long term is fixing these broken metabolic pathways. Because when you were 15, it's what could you eat when you were 15? Anything you wanted. And the reason was you had a 15-year-old metabolism. But now if you have you're I'm 48, but, when I first did my program, 6 years ago, I was 42. I had an 84-year-old metabolism. And so being able to fix that broken metabolism really changes everything. And being able to do it in a group and have someone hold your hand for 30 nights really makes a big difference.
I think that's the biggest piece, is that community aspect of meeting each night. It's that accountability factor. And when you're trying to accomplish a big goal like that, to have a huge support group and support system around you, is probably one of the most beneficial things for the group.
It is the biggest. And what's cool is at the end of the 30 days, people have lost so much. They're doing so great. A lot of them, we're like, well, we can't just leave them. So we created a group that then now meets weekly.
Cool.
And so it's sort of like once you graduate out of Hope 30, you move to the Hope 30 weekly group. And we have people that started with us in July that are they've lost over 65 pounds now.
Wow.
But as exciting as the weight loss is it's the non-scale victory stuff that I usually get the most excited about, like the less inflammation.
Yes.
I'm sleeping better. I'm taking less medications. My blood sugar's better. My blood pressure's better. Like that's really awesome. Or the confidence I feel, the energy I have. That's all really great. I'm certainly, your confidence goes up when you can put on pants you haven't worn in 15 years. These are really exciting things, but it's the other stuff that I think is probably just, if not more important.
Yeah,
which is
that's
pretty
huge.
cool.
That's really cool. Before I get to my last question for you, Dr. Jim, where can people find you online and learn more about your work?
So there's a lot of places you can check on me. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Jim Holland. You can find me on Facebook, Dr. Jim Holland DC. You can go to Hope 30, spell out the word 30.com. That's another place to check me out. Or you can go to hopeessentials.com. Those are all places where you can check out all the things I've got my hands in.
So my last question for you, Dr. Jim, is who do you want to impact the most with the work that you do?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the people that I want to impact the most are, it sounds kind of cliche, is the people that want my help, obviously, but I think I really have a heart for overcomers, for people that are dealing with something. And that's really what I've kind of centered my whole practice, my whole life around, is really helping people sort of overcome the same kind of things that I worked on. So, I got into CBD because of inflammation and joint pain. And, that's why I kind of created my CBD companion. I want to help people overcome that. I gained a bunch of weight. I became a type 2 diabetic, and I worked on kind of working through all that. So I really enjoy helping people metabolically and losing weight and fixing their broken metabolism, because mine was completely damaged and destroyed. And then, as we kind of move into, my chiropractic office, I take care of all these pregnant women and people trying to get pregnant and people post-pregnancy. And my supplement brand's really going in that direction because my wife and I struggled with so much fertility and miscarriages and, in vitros and failed ones. And all of those struggles lead to this desire to help people that are going through the same things. And so those are the people I really am called to serve, is really the people that kind of fit into those categories that I went through. I just feel like those are my people. Yeah. And I certainly want to help them. When I first opened, we used to have a saying in my office is, you send them, I'll serve them.
There you go.
I love all people. My goal is always to be the bright light in somebody's day. And so we're gonna serve everyone, but those are certainly probably the main people that need hope, people that want hope in their health. That's what we're here to do.
I love it. And I love what's so cool with the work that you're doing is that you're serving so many different people. You have the chiropractic office, you have, the metabolism side, you have your supplement brand with CBD product, and you're impacting a lot of people for, a variety of different issues and health concerns. So keep up the great work. And I want to say thank you, Dr. Jim, for taking the time to join me today and sharing your expertise.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. This was a real honor and pleasure. And I hope
Likewise.
I hope everybody got a lot of value from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.